a minute or two to see if he logs on.
All right, and you are currently live.
John, you out in the chicken coop?
Can he, maybe you want to text Dave Risberger to see if he's having trouble logging on?
I'll send him a text, Mayor.
And
No
Mark, you're
response?
in the backyard? That's the
Nothing
first
yet.
time you've had a change of background. That's great.
It's nice till about 8 when the bugs come out.
Okay, we'll start and hopefully Dave will be able to join us. The June 16th meeting of the City of Oneonta Common Council is hereby called to order. I will call the roll. Councilmember Murphy,
Here.
Councilmember Davies,
Here,
Councilmember Risberger,
Here.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Here.
Councilmember Carson,
Here.
Councilmember Harrington,
Here.
Councilmember Rafter,
Here.
and Councilmember Drenick.
Here.
Okay, thank you all. The gang is all here. All right, let me open up with a few words. You know, it's been almost exactly 3 months since the day we shut down. Looking back, it's hard to think of spending very much time awake or asleep, for that matter, when I haven't been thinking about COVID-19 and its impact upon the community. And then the last month, the last few weeks at least, thinking about how the perceptions of different parts of the community on matters of race are affecting us. It seems in the last couple of weeks, you know, I felt like we've had two significant wake-up calls. One came yesterday when we learned that we had 3 new positive test cases of COVID-19 among residents of the city of Oneonta. Now, that 3 may not sound like a big number, but it's striking because we've gone almost 6 weeks without any new tests. So hopefully that's not significant, but it can be. We've been hearing all along, we've been reading all along, that this is very likely to happen once we start opening up. And we've all read that, particularly in the South and in the Western parts of the country, communities that have opened up quickly have had surges and even large spikes. I was talking with my sister the other day, who lives in Burlington, Vermont. They had no new cases for almost 3 weeks. And then suddenly last week, they had 100 new cases. So we're not out of this. The risk is real. And I need to tell you that just over the last few days, I've had a number of people say to me that things appear very lax. that more people are not wearing masks than wearing masks, whether they're in stores or on the street shopping. That there's been just a general sense of relaxing past where we should be. This afternoon, I learned that the Mohawk Valley region is last in the percentage of businesses that are reopening that have taken the time to affirm their compliance on the state website. Now, what's important about that is not so much the act of affirming. What's important about that is knowing that they've taken the time to read the guidelines. The sense is that a lot of businesses, understandably, in their excitement to open up, have rushed right to opening up without even taking the time to read the guidelines and know what the guidelines are. And that's a problem. So we need to all work together on this. If you have friends that own a business, if you go into businesses, we need to all speak up and make sure that the business owners are aware of the need to affirm that people are wearing masks, that people are distancing, because none of us want to go backwards. None of us want to have to close back down. None of us want to see people get sick. None of us want to see people die. And it can happen. It can happen. So we need to all work together on that. I managed to obtain 300 gallons of sanitizer from the state, and that we are going to give for free to our local businesses, but only to those businesses that have affirmed, who are on the list of having affirmed. They will each get 1 or 2 gallons of sanitizers each. And the Otsego Chamber has offered to do the distribution on our behalf. So they will announce how that distribution will take place in the very near future. We've also been able to obtain a relatively small number, maybe 40, 50 touch thermometers, which we will also give for free to local businesses who have affirmed, so they could use it for employees to make sure that employees are fever-free when they report to work. The other wake-up call was, it's been about 3 weeks since we had the first protest here at the Muller Plaza, city of Oneonta. And I have to admit that before that protest started, I expected there to be understandable outrage spoken at the protest about the brutal killing of George Floyd. I didn't expect, honestly, even though I should have, that most of the people who spoke about their personal experiences right here in the city of Oneonta. Personal experiences about feeling prejudged by the color of their skin, feeling threatened, not feeling respected, feeling watched when they were going to a store, and other concerns. Again, in Cooperstown, the same thing happened. People spoke at the Cooperstown protest, and a lot of the talk at the Cooperstown protest was about experiences people had had in the city of Oneonta or in the surrounding area. So that's a wake-up call, because I think, myself included, those of us that are not directly affected by entrenched bias, it's easy for us to sit around and say that we've come a long way, that we've become a very welcoming community, and we don't have any racial problems here. But it's a very different perspective from the people who feel that their lives and their family lives are affected by that. So that difference in perspective, I think, is real. And for me, and I hope for many others, the protests and the things we heard were a real wake-up call. During the last few days, I've had meetings with leadership of the NAACP. I've met with some of the organizers of the local events. I've spoken with our colleges, and listened to suggestions on how we can work together as we go forward. And you know, I'm still gathering that, and will continue you know, to go forward. But some of the suggestions, you know, have been things just as of course, open forums, better training upon hiring, have better hiring practices to recruit people of color, to involve young people with the police so they form relations with positive relations with the police at a young age, have better connections with our colleges and the minorities population of our colleges, and many, many more. In addition, as you know, I'm proposing along with Chief Brenner, we are proposing a community advisory board for the police. And I will prepare more details on that and put that on the agenda for the next planning committee meeting, which will be not next week, in 2 weeks, because this is one of those months where we have 5 Tuesdays and we will miss a week with the council meeting. So in 2 weeks from now, details about the community advisory board for the police will be, and I'll invite Chief Brenner to attend that committee meeting and we'll talk about it there. Okay, that's, let me just switch screens here. Okay, that's what I have to talk about today. I'll now turn it over to Councilmember Drenick, who I believe attended the Board of Public Service meeting.
Yes,
Mark,
I
do
did.
you have a report on that?
I do, yeah. So the Board of Public Service met for the first time in a little while on June 4th. There was some old business at 248 River Street. They had a fee appeal for the electric and heating inspection that's been tabled pending more documents, so that'll go into July. Several other new business issues were also tabled to July. You know, the chair did a terrific job doing all of this virtually, and so did all the support staff at the city in helping this thing come together. 30 East End Avenue, rather 30 East End was deemed unsafe. That's at the property owner's request, so he could do some demo. 12 Parish Avenue also deemed unsafe, good for demo. 18 Hazel Street was declared an unsafe property. Aside from the building, the trees, blight, apparently they have chipmunks. They got 10 days, which is I think past now, for repair plan to get rid of the trees. This was June 4th, so today is the 16th, so yeah. And then 185 to 187 Chestnut Street was declared an unsafe building. Squatters there, sewage in the basement. They need to vacate. It's difficult to determine how to handle the issue of squatters, given you know, the issues around you know, the coronavirus. But I'm sure at this point they've probably just about done that. So sewage in the basement, squatters out. 13 Baker Street, blighted property, and they were instructed to make a plan with code enforcement. And that's the report.
Anybody have any questions regarding that? Okay, if there are none, oh, I'm sorry.
Dave does.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and the property on Hazel Street, is that on the end, the greenhouse on Hazel? Do you know, Mark?
Yeah, boy, I wish I could tell you. 12 days ago, it seems like 2 months ago to me right now.
Yeah, I know.
I can check for you.
I'm pretty sure that's the only blighted
Yes, that's-
property on that
That is
street.
the property.
Mhm.
It is,
Thank you,
okay.
Mark. Thank you.
Do we know if that property is for sale at all? If the owner, we know who the owner is?
We do know who the owner is. Hang on a second.
That bank owned?
Yeah, 18 Hazel Street. Hang on a
Yeah.
second. It's Jeremy and Tracy Shaw. They're out of Danbury, Connecticut.
Okay. Do we know if they're looking to sell the property? The reason I'm asking is I know someone that's actually interested in purchasing it.
Everything's for sale. Dave. I don't I don't know though, honestly.
I'm not quite sure where to go with this, but maybe I'll talk to code office then.
Yeah, I would suggest. Yeah, I'm afraid pretty much what I've given you is about what I'm worth here as far as this meeting is concerned.
It's more than I knew before, Mark. So
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mark, while we have you, do you want to give a brief update on what's
Yeah.
happening with Survive and Thrive?
Yeah. There's so much happening with that. So Judy and her committee, Len on that committee, they've got things figured out for monies to support local businesses. We have all kinds of, there's micro enterprise, and then there's other grants that I feel like I'm probably not privy. I shouldn't be saying too much about. I guess it'll be announced shortly. But good stuff that's being done by finance, really good stuff being done by finance. The promotions committee, the big thing that they have going on right now is the ticket to win it piece, which is getting some pretty good traction. And there's been a lot of promotion. Everybody seems to be promoting that, which is great. Destination Oneonta, huge thumbs up to those guys too. The marketing committee is putting together at this point, they've got a pretty good strategy, and they're working up a budget that may have already been submitted to Judy today. I'm losing track of days, so it might have gone to Judy today and to Len. Len, did it? Did you happen to see that today? From marketing, did you happen to see a budget come to you today?
Yeah, did you want me to give the amount?
No. I just want to know if it came to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Already turned in your temporary budget and your long-term budget.
Excellent. Okay, good. So marketing has got a strategy. They've got a budget figured out. Infrastructure has been, they've done already wonderful work. And as everybody knows, council's going to have a lot of work in the future. Thank you very much, Dave, to take care of some of the things that have been identified as priorities through that committee. Katie Lapari-Shu had her first meeting, I believe, yesterday, right, Katie, for the communications committee meetings. And we have a really big meeting happening tomorrow at 2:30 for the public spaces, the reimagining kind of public spaces committee, which will tackle the street closures, how we want to do that, and then hopefully with that have an application ready to go for the state liquor authority. Outside of that, not too much.
Thanks, Mark. And I've been doing my best to follow Mark's directive, which is to stay the hell out of the way. Really, people are working on us, doing a great job. Judy, I see you're on the call. Anything that you want to add that wasn't touched upon?
No, I think Mark covered it pretty well. We're going to have some funding programs coming out shortly. The communications committee is going to be doing a great job on outreach to the public. And we're going to have some more stuff coming into finance committee, the next city finance committee, to get some of the other projects funded and underway. So we're going pretty fast. We'll steam ahead, I guess.
Great news. Great. Thank you to everybody for working on this. Any questions about this from anybody? Okay, so let's move on. We'll go to the consent agenda. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove number 5. That's the motion regarding the refinancing of the bonds from the consent agenda, put it as a separate motion. It needs a vote of a supermajority, I believe. At any rate, while the others only require a majority. So we'll just take that out in case there's questions on it. So starting with the consent agenda. Number 1, motion that the council approves the minutes of the regular meeting, which was held on June 2nd, 2020. Number 2, Motion that the council approves the warrants totaling $1,487,791.02. Number 3. Motion that the council approves the purchasing agent's recommendation to award the bid for the water treatment plant electrical upgrade to the low bidder, which was Blanding Electric of Vestal, New York, and the bid amount was $62,833. 4. Motion that the council approves the 2019 budget transfers. They totaled $114,512, and the 2020 budget transfers totaling $37,200 as presented and per the attached reports. Skipping 5. Take me a minute to scroll down 5 pages here. Okay, number 6. Motion that the council authorizes the mayor to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the City of Oneonta's Police Sergeants Association, which will provide for a grant of extended paid sick leave to employee number 022117. This would occur without charge to the employee's accruals from January 28, 2020 through May 9th, 2020, and it is subject to review by the city's Special Counsel for Labor and Employment Matters. 7. Motion that the council extends the previously awarded per pay period stipend of $350 to David Corey from July 1, 2020 through September 30th, 2020, and this would be for additional duties to be performed. Motion 8. Motion that the council approves the purchasing agent's recommendation to award the bid for the Wilbur Lake Dam repairs and improvements project to the low bidder, which was Wynn Construction of Waterford, New York, and the bid amount was $1,655,506.60. 9. This is a motion that as a result of the competitive bids that were solicited and accepted for the Wilbur Lake Dam repairs and improvements capital project, the council modifies the budget originally adopted on July 3rd, 2018 as follows. Transferring from line H60 8320.2 $250,000 from H60.8320.21 $1,740,000, and from line H60.8320.22 $10,000 for a total of $2 million. And the money to be transferred will go to line H46.5031 in the amount of $631,000, and to line H46.5710 in the amount of $1,369,000, also for a total of $2 million. So that concludes the consent agenda. I'll entertain any requests to remove any of those items 1 through 7 from the consent agenda. Any? Okay, I don't think I'm hearing any. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as it stands minus item 5.
So moved.
Councilmember Risberger makes the motion. Councilmember Rafter seconds. I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter,
Aye.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay, that consent agenda passes. Thank you. Now we'll go back to motion 5. Now, this is a long, complex motion that would authorize our finance director to refinance existing bonds. I guess the most important part of that is the purpose of doing so is that it will save the city significant amount of money. Jenny, can you take a minute to talk about the amount of money that'll be saved?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Approximately $259,000, close to $260,000 will be saved from year 2021 to 2032. And this is a result of lower interest rates and also a reduction in the principal because of how they exchange the value of bonds. It's a bit complicated, the value of the bond back in 2013 versus the value of this year. But it is going to save us approximately $260,000. So I think that's wonderful.
Great. Now, instead of reading a 5-page motion, I'm going to just read a short motion that authorizes the approval of the longer 5-page motion, trusting that everybody has read the longer 5-page motion. But I'll ask for opportunity for discussion, questions before we vote on it. So I think we go back now to motion 5. This is a motion that the Common Council, having reviewed the resolution as set forth below in its entirety, and after due consideration, approves the resolution, and further, because of its length, waives the reading thereof. Do I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Harrington. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Davies. Discussion, questions, and keep in mind you're approving the entire resolution by approving this. Councilmember Murphy.
Yes, I just wanted to take a moment to thank Ginny. She provided some really good feedback and a follow-up email. It's a long resolution, but I wanted to thank her for her follow-up. And it really helped to break it down quite a bit to make it understandable for folks like me. So thank you, Ginny.
You're welcome.
Luke, that was not understandable to folks like me or any other folks, unless you're a bond attorney. That was not understandable to anybody. Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu.
Skip me.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's much easier when I see a room. Councilmember Risberger.
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter.
Aye.
Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay. That motion passes. Thank you very much. Top of everything else, you now have to remember where people sit. Okay, now let me go back to the agenda. Okay, the following motion was proposed and brought forward by Councilmember Murphy. So I'd like to give him the opportunity to read it.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to thank the entirety of the council for giving me your feedback on this resolution and hopefully your support. What we've seen in the past 3 weeks is nothing that hasn't been there for centuries. The pain of members of our community is immense, and talking to several constituents, not just in the first ward, but all over the city and beyond. It's really important that they know that the city takes what's going on seriously, and that we acknowledge that we don't live in a fair society. As much as we teach it in our schools and we strive to be a fair society, we're not there yet. And it's important that I think that we pass this resolution. So with that being said, I will read it. Let me just pull it up here. Okay. Whereas the recent protests in Minneapolis and Louisville are not isolated incidents, simply the most recent in centuries of racial injustice in the United States. And whereas the murder of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd have sparked protests for justice across the world. And whereas these murders have reverberated throughout the community, opening old wounds and highlighting the reality of unequal treatment and representation of communities of color by and all areas of government, legislation, and law enforcement. And whereas the people of the city of Oneonta have clearly and peacefully expressed their concerns for the safety and rights for their communities of color across the country and demand an end to police-related violence and brutality. And whereas, as servants of the people of the city of Oneonta, the Oneonta Common Council has a duty to stand beside those calling for equal treatment under the law. Therefore, be it resolved that the Common Council of the City of Oneonta supports federal, state, and local measures to ensure that all its citizens receive equal treatment under the law, supports actions that ensure equality in the way our community is policed, and furthermore renounces all acts of racism committed within its borders by law enforcement and its citizens alike.
Okay. Thank you, and I'll give Councilmember Murphy an opportunity to move the motion.
Yes, I would like to move the motion forward, please. Can I?
And do I have a second? Councilmember Risberger. Discussion? If there is none, I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Aye.
Councilmember Risberger.
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu.
Yes.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter.
Aye.
And Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And Councilmember Murphy, I want to thank you for your thoughtfulness on taking the lead on this. Much appreciated. Okay, that concludes all the motions that are on our agenda. I'll open it up for any additional business. Anybody? Councilmember Lepari Shu.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a second. Like a lot of us, I'm sure I've been, really immersed in conversations around what's been happening in our community and how people are looking to move forward. And so I just wanted to say that even though it's still in the very beginning stages, I'm very excited to hear that, Mayor, that you and Chief Brenner are working together to create a committee for oversight for the police department. I think that really speaks to a growth mindset and, not saying that, things aren't so bad here, so we're just gonna not worry about it. I think there's always room to reevaluate the way that we do things. And so I'm just happy to see that that's happening. And I've received a few comments from some folks just in kind of the last few weeks talking about things that they would like to see done differently in our community. So I just wanted to share a couple of those ideas. And they're something that, I would hope that the board, once it's formed, would take into consideration. So they're checked out. But my first one is Teresa Sazewski, who owns and operates Teresa's Emporium on Main Street. So she said, when I was a child and young adult in Oneonta, the police knew many of the community members and the community knew them. I believe it was due to police being visible by walking and engaging with people on the streets. Owning a business on Main Street, I can honestly say that I rarely, and I mean almost never, see police walking. We have people who daily solicit cigarettes and money from people walking by, and I can give examples of other concerns that folks have. I do not know who the police have talked with and what has been implemented to deal with these problems. I would love to have seen the police at the protest. My suggestion is more visibility and connection with the community. We are all grateful for what you do. I would love to go back to the day when I could say hi and know who you are. And so along with that, I've seen several people calling for more on-foot police presence in our communities, specifically downtown and the neighboring areas. And then also just some folks who, you know, I know we're throwing around the phrase, not us specifically, but it's being thrown around, defund the police, which is a very simplistic way to get across an idea that is being tossed around right now. And so kind of along that line, I've heard some great suggestions from people, basically to kind of reinvest in our police department by hiring people, like, so by continuing to allocate the same amount of funds to the OPD, but potentially some of the funds within that allocation go toward hiring like a mental health professional. I think that someone, actually it was Jill Basile, who is a county rep for us, and I'm gonna totally misquote her, but basically she said that when people have been arrested, they're at their lowest, and that's when they need the help of a mental health professional. So I think it would really behoove us to consider that. And then also just investing in the training of our police officers to be able to handle the things that they come across. You know, we put a lot of faith in them to handle things that, you know, they may not necessarily have the training for. So I think that creating an oversight committee is a really great first step to making sure that, you know, we're moving forward and not just, you know, resting on good enough. So I just wanted to show my support for that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Councilman Murphy?
There we go. Yes, just a couple of things. I would really like to give a public appreciation, a thank you to Shannon McHugh, who is our chair of the Community Relations and Human Rights Committee. She's given quite a few very powerful presentations, and I believe was involved with the planning of one, if not both, of the rallies in Cooperstown and Oneonta. And I think she really did a great job of showing how people in our community, some folks are affected more negatively than others based on conditions beyond their control, and really shows that it's not an us versus them. It really is a whole community issue. So I really want to give her for lack of better words, props. She did a really great job at those protests. And just to echo what Councilmember Lepari-Shu said, I think it is a great time to think about the amount that we ask of our police force. We do ask a lot of them. We ask them to be social workers. We ask them to be, in some cases, far beyond what a police officer should be. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these ideas that come out of the talks with the review board.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. If there's no other items, I'm not aware of any correspondence. So we are adjourned. Thank you all. There's no next council meeting is in July. I believe it's July 7th. So next week, no meetings, committee or council meeting. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. Thank you all.